The CLTH battle group emerged from warp space, their armada of warships advancing on the planet known as Sonu 314, colloquially termed Nexus by the human settlers. Intelligence reports characterized Nexus as a typical colony world. It possessed a breathable atmosphere, was rich in vegetation and basic animal life, and had an unremarkable mineral profile. The sole interest of the CLTH lay in a resource known as SLED, making Nexus an optimal target due to preliminary surveys indicating the absence of native sentient beings and a minimal human footprint. From the command center of the flagship Dreadnought Malevolence, Warlord Grax issued directives. Secure the landing areas for our labor divisions. I expect the mining and manufacturing facilities to be operational within 2 cycles. From the flanks of each capital ship, deployment crafts descended toward the planet's surface. Grax observed the organized deployment of troops on tactical displays, which were soon populated with numerous biological signatures as units spread out to establish the Empire's domain. The operation proceeded flawlessly, almost with disconcerting ease. The situation escalated when the biological signatures for Squads 341 and 3097 abruptly ceased. Grax rose swiftly, approaching the sensor array for clarification. What occurred? Report immediately, he demanded from a visibly perturbed technician. It is uncertain, Overlord. They vanished without any distress calls or communication. All vital signs terminated instantaneously, and we have confirmed casualties, responded another officer succinctly. Squad 397 has been decimated. 341 is reduced to 2 members, he continued, and before Grax could respond, the number decreased again. Now only 1 remains. Squads 125 and 212 are lost. Everyone in 57 is sustaining severe casualties. Grax absorbed the continuous stream of casualty reports in shock. Entire units were obliterated or disappeared without explanation. His forces across Nexus were being eradicated with alarming speed. Indignation surged within him. Despite their uncontested control of the skies, an unknown adversary was inflicting catastrophic losses upon his seasoned soldiers. Withdraw our forces to the secured landing zones and conduct comprehensive sensor scans to identify the cause of these losses, Grax commanded. He speculated about the possibility of an unseen orbital weapon system targeting his fleet, yet exhaustive diagnostics revealed no breaches in their defenses. The entity responsible for the widespread slaughter of CLTH ground forces remained elusive to their technological detection. As casualties continued to rise, Grax's desperation and fear grew. Despite their renowned resilience, the CLTH had never faced such a relentless assault. An eerie silence enveloped Nexus, devoid of the previous chaos of casualty updates and the sounds of combat. The tactical displays before Grax now showed a near-total elimination of the 3,000 troops deployed on the ground. Only a few biomarkers lingered near the remaining transports, where survivors huddled in terror. This conquest has failed, Grax uttered in disbelief, his voice hoarse. All units are to commence evacuation immediately. His command was abruptly interrupted by a series of violent explosions. Each of the drop ships burst into flames one after the other. Within moments, every evacuation point had been destroyed. The planet's surface was almost entirely devoid of CLTH life signs. Grax stood transfixed by the catastrophic scale of the loss, his features reflecting the gravity of their defeat. They had yet to determine the adversary or the means of such devastating attacks. Sensing the growing unease among the bridge officers, he spoke with measured calm to maintain morale. It appears we have significantly underestimated the hazards present on Nexus. Our sole recourse now is an immediate strategic withdrawal. Just as the fleet prepared to initiate evacuation protocols, an unexpected communication intercepted the ship's internal communication system. Grax paused, then signaled to play the message. A casual yet authoritative voice filled the bridge, addressing Grax. Leaving so soon after all the effort your troops expended to reach the planet's surface? It would seem remiss not to linger, or at least to send a delegation to retrieve your fallen for dignified rites. Grax's throat sac swelled with fury at the boldness of the message. Who dares address me in such a manner? He demanded. I am Commander Silva of the Interstellar Marine Corps. Your invasion force lies in ruins, and any survivors on Nexus face imminent demise. Were I in your position, I would seize this chance to retreat while the majority of your fleet remains intact. Grafx's claws clenched in anger, and the tension among the Self officers heightened as they awaited his command. Regaining his composure, Grafx signaled to sever the communication. In recognition of our shared warrior ethos, I will permit one of your shuttle's safe passage to the surface to retrieve your deceased and account for your losses, he declared, imbuing his words with reluctant respect. Before he could say more, Silva disconnected the call. The bridge was enveloped in a palpable tension, punctuated by the soft keystrokes of technicians verifying the absence of human naval forces nearby. Contemplating Silva's proposition, Grafx realized that allowing the retrieval of their fallen would confirm the extent of the calamity at Nexus and test the boundaries of perceived weakness. Prepare my personal dropship, he commanded with a raspy voice, asserting his intent to personally verify the scope of the devastation. There was a momentary pause among the crew, a silent acknowledgement of the gravity of his decision, yet none dared challenge his directive. Soon, Grafx's streamlined dropship disengaged from the fleet, descending solo towards the verdant expanse of the planet. As the craft descended, those aboard the fleet monitored anxiously, wondering what devastation awaited their leader on the surface. Gliding over the landscape, Grafx scanned for any visible indicators of the force that had vanquished his troops. Yet, the planet betrayed no signs of conflict, no craters, no debris. Eventually, his shuttle alighted gently on a broad plain, previously designated as one of their primary operational zones. Despite clear readings from atmospheric sensors indicating an absence of human presence, Grafx remained cautious, aware of hidden dangers. The shuttle's engines powered down, and he positioned himself by the loading ramp, hesitating to venture out until he had a clearer understanding of the threats unleashed on his forces. The silence was broken by the hiss of hydraulics as the ramp descended, revealing sunlight that flooded the hold with a heavy sense of foreboding. Grafx slowly stepped down onto the field, the grass beneath his feet crushed by the weight of his armored boots. Thousands of his soldiers had disembarked here mere hours earlier, yet now only grim remnants scattered across the landscape testified to their presence. Smoldering husks of gunships and personnel transports were interspersed with shattered payload crates from failed supply drops. The absence of any defensive structures or fortifications offered no clues as to the devastating force that had annihilated the heavily armed self-leader Ares. Grafx approached a mound of fallen soldiers with caution. The corpses bore the hallmarks of a fierce engagement. Plasma burns disfigured their armored carapaces, limbs and wings were sheared off, indicating the lethal efficiency of bladed weapons. One soldier's head was nearly severed from its thorax by a clean lateral strike. Delving deeper, Grafx engaged his inner nodes to enhance his dimensional perception, attempting to sense the remnants of the violent skirmish. Yet, the identity of their assailants remained frustratingly elusive, their presence dissolving like vapor whenever he tried to focus. A subtle rustle in the nearby foliage caught his attention. Grafx quickly turned toward the sound, his claws ready and weapon systems primed for engagement. However, the disturbance revealed nothing but the flickering shadows of trees swaying in the gentle breeze. With narrowed eyes, he scanned the area, searching for any sign of elusive foes. "Come out and face me," he silently urged. Suddenly, another noise from behind made him whirl around, talons extended. Standing 20 meters away was a lone human, observing him with a calm demeanor. Reacting instinctively, Grafx fired a burst from his personal plasma arsenal. The human, with astonishing agility, sidestepped the attack, evading the energy blast at close range, an impossible feat for any normal biped. The human's matte black helmet hid any facial expression, its slit lenses reflecting Grafx's own fury. The figure wore tactical armor devoid of any identifying marks, adding to the mystery. Grafx ceased his offensive, assessing this formidable yet non-aggressive adversary. Reigniting his psychic aura, he projected an intimidating presence. "You and I, directly biped. Your reliance on stealth bespeaks dishonorable tactics," Grafx challenged. The human offered no response. Grafx reiterated his challenge through the ship's translation system, but still, the figure merely stood there, an inscrutable observer. Then, from his left, a new voice spoke. Another human had approached unnoticed, this one adorned in a distinctive battle dress with admiral insignia and a subdued silver helmet. The newcomer bore no visible weapons. "Our warriors do not heed your provocations, alien," the new arrival stated firmly. "We engage on our terms, as your decimated forces have evidently learned." Grafx's indignation surged, but a chilling realization struck him. The precision and discipline of their attack were not the work of an ordinary planetary militia. These were likely Federation veterans, possibly even members of the legendary Special Forces Command, the Shadow Warriors, reputed for their ability to conduct deep strikes into enemy territory and vanish without a trace, or to defend human settlements deemed inconsequential by strategic algorithms. Grafx tensed as additional matte black-clad troopers silently emerged from the tree line, effectively doubling their numbers. They had been concealed just moments before, now forming a tight perimeter around the clearing. The instinct to either flee or engage in battle surged within him, but he restrained himself. The senior officer halted several meters away, and Grafx stood motionless, painfully aware that his shuttle was his sole escape route should this confrontation escalate. He wondered how many human snipers currently had their sights trained on him. "You presumed Nexus would yield easily, seeking to enslave us, but this world will never submit to invaders from above. I cannot permit even one of you to leave. Once your shuttle ascends, it will not reach orbit," the officer declared, his tone final. The air seemed to thicken with tension as numerous eyes targeted him through their scopes. However, the officer continued, "Out of professional courtesy, I offer you these final moments to communicate with your flagship." Grafx hesitated, and the officer added, "Of course, you're free to attempt an escape." Realizing the gravity of his predicament, Grafx felt a chill. Death or capture loomed inevitable, yet the humans appeared to allow him time for a final transmission to his ship. Carefully, he extracted a trifold polycom link from his harness and activated the laser uplink directed at the Malevolence, hovering beyond the planet's atmosphere. What message could he send? Simply reporting a failed invasion seemed grossly inadequate. "This world is not as it appears," he began. "The human settlers here are not mere civilians. They maneuver unseen, undetected by our sensors until it was too late." His eyes scanned the deceptively serene landscape of Nexus, its deadly nature now fully revealed. "Our arrogance blinded us. We faced an enemy unlike any other human force encountered before." The Admiral gave a subtle nod as Grafx's message concluded, his stoic expression unchanging even as the sounds of weapons being primed filled the air. The finality of the moment hung heavily around Grafx. He wanted his superiors to understand that Nexus was defended by a ghostly, relentless force. His last view of this world would be of humans proving themselves as the dominant predators in the galaxy. Facing the expressionless commando, Grafx prepared to meet his end with dignity. He straightened up, facing his fate head-on. Then, suddenly, a blinding white heat engulfed his vision as oblivion claimed him. This lush human colony, once inviting, had revealed its true nature as a stronghold of elite protectors, compelling the Empire to reassess any further ambitions towards these formidable adversaries.